Hi, Scorpio. Welcome to your March Tarot forecast with me. My name is Brooke, and welcome to Nightbird Tarot. This reading is for all those born under the sign of Scorpio. Please watch for your sun, your rising, as well as your moon sign in this reading. And Scorpio, let's get started for the month of March. What's coming in? There's some sort of anxiety. There also could be some sort of stress happening for many Scorpios, perhaps right now, where you are feeling very much stressed out. In your first line, what we see is the Eight of Swords, the Nine of Swords, coupled with the Moon card and the first three cards. That very much indicates to me some form of stressful situation for many of those that are watching. This is entailing many things dealing with depression or anxiety or just stress in general, feeling very much trapped in a situation. For Scorpio, you may be dealing with perhaps anxiety and a much worry about something. And there's been a lot of deception associated with this as well. There's been a lot of mood fluctuations, especially if you're dealing with other people. This could even be in terms of moods within yourself. This could be notable of depression, anxiety, etc. Something is really causing Scorpio to feel like you're between a rock and a hard place. For many of those that are watching, that's causing great anxiety. This is a situation where you feel entrapped in some sort of situation or stuck, and it's more of a mental entrapment. The message is you have the abilities to make a clear-cut decision, and in terms of sacrificing something in order to achieve success. The last two cards in your line, we see the Hanged Man followed by the World. Two major arcana cards, especially next to the moon. So Scorpio, the message is for you, if something has been a bit disillusioned or you feel as if you're dealing with something very dark, or there's despair, or there's been some sort of monumental moment where you have had to face difficulties within yourself or difficulties from other people or even fears, the message is something needs to be sacrificed in order for you to be willing to achieve success and moving out of this dark period. For many of those that are watching, and whatever you've been struggling with, whether this is internally or externally. So that's the message for Scorpio. And something definitely is going to reveal itself as full circle for Scorpio in the month of March as well. There is some success notable for you this month, even though you may be tackling difficult situations or difficulties within yourself. There is much success and may be along the route of perhaps having to follow protocol or a more traditional sense of something, but there is much success and much positivity, and maybe perhaps the positivity is coming from having to follow tradition or having to follow policy or having to follow a different set of rules instead of perhaps rebelling against something. This may be the month, Scorpio, where you may have to follow tradition and to follow protocol, and things will turn out more in your favor. So just keep that in mind. There is a lot of defensiveness coming from this situation as well. It's one where you feel perhaps that you are guarded or on guard or having to defend yourself to other people. This also may be coming from higher ups in terms of organizations or people you work for, or perhaps even coming from family members as well. There's some sort of defensive stance when it's coming from this situation where you may feel misunderstood or you're being misunderstood in this situation. You do have a king in your second line, the King of Swords. The King of Swords is looking across these cards. That indicates to me that he's very much about using strategy and diplomacy in this situation. He comes across as being a strategist, very serious minded. He can also come across as being very stoic because a certain decision, major decision, I feel for Scorpio, needs to be made in order for you to obtain success and to pull you out of the darkness, so to speak, for the month of March. The King of Swords represents the air signs. This doesn't necessarily have to be an actual person in your life. From this line, I get the sense that it's more of using strategy and forming diplomacy on your own, Scorpio, and cultivating that for trying to achieve success and pulling you out of this situation in the month of March. Going forward for the month of March, we have the Emperor, Strength, and another court card, which is the King of Cups. The Emperor is very much about being in control. This is also a card of authority. This could be tied to authorities in legal systems, court, law enforcement, etc. This could represent a boss. This also can represent Scorpio yourselves in terms of regaining control in your lives for the month of March, especially being next to the major arcana card Strength. Very much about regaining control, regaining balance, regaining strength, pulling down into the well of your inner resources and your survival tactics to regain control in your lives. Something has unraveled for Scorpio. Something has been unraveled, and you've allowed yourself to perhaps ski down the slope of murkiness where things have kind of gotten out of control, and now you're forced to make a major decision, and it's up to you to pull yourself up out of this. No one is going to save you from this. This also could be very much self-created for Scorpio as well, or like self-sabotage. So pulling yourself up this month, pulling yourself up from your bootstraps, regaining control in your lives. The King of Cups has come in, and he's very much a father figure in the tarot deck. He's also a reminder of having compassion and unconditional love and very much a mastery of his emotions. However, the King of Cups can also be very watery with his emotions as well. This could represent Scorpio as the water sign, and the King of Cups can have a great sense of humor, be very imaginative, and at the same time, the King of Cups can also be a little bit flaky and says one thing but does another, and is always kind of constantly changing their mind in terms of, the tides of the moon and what's the feeling in the air that day. So Scorpio, that may not be the best approach to things this month. That may be where you're coming from a lot of the time. This feeling of back and forth within yourself internally, of saying one thing to other people, but then turning around and doing something totally different. So the message for Scorpio, once again, is to have the strength to regain control in a certain situation in your life. Going forward, at the bottom two cards, we see the Queen of Swords next to the Magician. The Queen of Swords, another air card, very much about making decisions. The Queen of Swords and the King of Swords are very much the dynamic duo in the tarot deck of clear-cut communication with other people. Their approach is one of tactic. They are not going to mince words. This may be an actual person in your life this month, Scorpio. This may be how you need to perhaps tackle issues at hand. She is one that comes from a history of dealing with trauma or dealing with stress, and she's come into your reading to validate to you, Scorpio, what's necessary for your self-growth this month is to remain strong, calm, remain stoic in certain situations. Do not fly off the handle or let emotions overtake certain situations, and not to react so much, because the Magician is next to her. The Magician is all about delving deep inside and using the mastery of what you have learned in your life and the knowledge and the discipline that you have learned in your life to overcome challenges and to remind you that you really are the map maker of your life. It's your choices. Look at your life, look at your choices kind of card, and a reminder of everything is connected. So your thoughts being projected, the way you speak about your problems, they all kind of create this cosmic soup, so to speak, where if you keep dwelling on the negatives, if you keep talking about the negatives, these things will still be reflected back to you. And to remind you that you are in control of your destiny, so to speak, and the mastery that you have acquired over the years, and to use that to your best abilities. The outcome card we see for Scorpio is the Two of Swords. So the Two of Swords is very much a card about feeling like you're caught in a stronghold or feeling as if you're in a stalemate position and you don't know which way or which direction to take. This also can come up as a card of denial. Do not try to sugarcoat or pretend that these things up top are not happening, because something is off in your world right now. For many of those that are watching, something has kind of fallen apart, so to speak, that's caused you much anxiety and much stress. The Two of Swords is a tense situation for Scorpio this month. Something needs to be tackled head on for you. It's like you don't really know which path to choose. So you're kind of on the horns of a dilemma this month, Scorpio. Going back to the Hanged Man, very much about making a major decision, very much about making or having to make a major sacrifice of some kind. Don't feel immobilized by indecision this month, Scorpio. That's the message. Once again, keep a tight rein on your emotions as well. And try to use your defenses to avoid facing your feelings about things, but you may be using your defenses to avoid having to confront something. Once again, going back to the Nine of Rods. But don't bury your head in the sand, so to speak, Scorpio. Things need to be faced. You have to really face what you really want or feel this month. That's the message for you. And you may come upon an agreement with other people, especially with the majority of court cards in your reading, with the Queen, the King of Cups, the King of Swords. So very much about perhaps reaching a settlement or reaching an agreement from this tense situation. So good luck to you, Scorpio. Keep me posted. Have a fabulous month. If you'd like to book a private reading with me, check out my links in the description box below, as well as my social media. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I'll speak to you soon.